Hello and welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial. Today we're going to use geometry nodes to make a creepy robot spider that walks on its own. Let's do it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be creating this little robot spider, and we're going to use geometry nodes to create the legs and have the legs be kind of moving as it moves. That's the idea, at least. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to hit A to select all and X to delete. And first we're going to model the robot central piece, and then we're going to do the geometry node legs. Okay, so let's go Shift A and let's create a UV sphere. Why not? Scale this up a little bit with S, and then SZ to scale it down, and then SX. I'm going to kind of make it a little bit of an oval, I think. Let's go into edit mode, and let's look at this thing from the side, and I'm going to go into transparent mode. This allows me to select vertexes on both sides. So you can see, actually it's not a good example. Let me do it like this. Beta box select, I'll select that one, right? You think I've just selected one, but no, I've selected two. Two for the price of one on both sides, whereas if this is off, you do that. You're just going to select one. So let's take this, and I'm going to grab all of these, and I'm going to hit X to delete. I'm going to delete those vertexes, and I'm going to hit Alt and click that to grab that whole loop. And I'm going to hit, let's see, I'm going to turn off Shade Smooth. I'm going to hit E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude, grab Z, bring this down. I don't really know what this thing's going to look like, but we'll figure it out. Let's see, E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude, grab Z, E, scale. Just kind of making some detail, just some like shape to this thing. Maybe scale this one in a bit, E, grab Z, bring this down, scale this in a bit. Actually, I might go up like that. E, scale, E, grab Z, E, scale, E, scale, or to grab, sorry, not scale. E, scale, down like that. E, grab Z, E, grab, and scale this one out. Let's see, E, grab Z. I don't know where I'm going with this. E, and scale, and grab Z, E, scale, grab Z, and scale that in as well, and E, and scale, and E, and up. And then let's grid fill. So I went F3, right? Hit the F3 key, and then type in grid fill, and that will get you the grid fill. F3 is great for searching for things. If you don't know where they are, that'll just fill that up for us. All right, this is a thing. I'm going to right click Shade Smooth, and I'm going to come over here to this green tab, and I'm going to come to normals, and I'm going to take auto smooth. I think maybe we need to grab this. No, not that. Let's go to edge mode, and I'm going to grab this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, not this one, this one, this one, this one. So, and there we go. I want the straight across. Not that. Come on. Beta box select, shift, deselect. All right, so I'll grab these all the way down as well. Let's see if this works. I'm going to do Control B to bevel. Is this going to work, or is this going to break everything? It works. Good. All right. I was just curious what it was going to do here right at the center. All right, and then I'm going to E and grab Z. Pull that up a touch. Not much, but just a little bit. And also scale Y, just so it pops out along the side too. Maybe scale Z. And then maybe like some kind of like front area console thing. Like let's grab some faces here. I might turn on proportional editing for this bit, and I'm going to scale X, roll my mouse wheel, right? I'm going to kind of flatten out this front area. There we go. That's kind of cool. I do the opposite with this. Like, what if we scale X, but then like grab X as well? That's kind of cool. All right, let's maybe grab this set of faces like so, and let's inset these. So I to inset, bring that in, E to extrude, and then turn off proportional editing, grab X, bring it in. I'm going to scale X to 0 to flatten it. And then I'm going to inset, bring that in, grab X just a little bit. Maybe inset one more time, grab X, bring that in. Something like this. Like that. That's kind of cool. We're just coming up with stuff as we go. Those are the ones. Inset is great for just kind of punching these little holes. Can we to sphere this? Let's go F3 and type in to sphere. And then if you just move your mouse, it's going to try and turn that into a circular shape, which it did. I'm just going to delete that center vertex. So we just have this hole here. Hold down Alt, click that loop. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude and grab Y, Z, and then E and scale and then E, and I'm going to turn on my widget for controls. I'm going to switch it off global to normal, and you can see the normal points the direction that the faces are pointing. So now my little widget is pointing out, so I can easily grab that up, but it's not quite in the angle that I needs to be just a little bit different. E again, scale, and then I'm going to grid fill that. See, grid fill is just great for closing holes. This is cool. This might be good enough. Let's go ahead and throw on a subdivision surface modifier into this. So I'll go here to modifiers under the wrench tab, modifiers, subdivision surface. This will increase the geometry and smooth everything out. You can see we lose a lot of detail. I want this this thing right here to kind of be a hard edge. So I'm going to select that and then get to Control B to bevel. And we'll grab this guy, hold down Alt, grab that loop. I'm going to Control B to bevel here and just drag Shift. All right, looks pretty good. Let's do some creepy spider eyes right in here. So I'm going to just go into edit mode, grab these two faces, Shift S, cursor to selected. That'll put my 3D cursor right on the surface there. Now I can do is Shift A and I can grab an isosphere and it'll just appear right where I want it. Right click shade smooth for that guy. All right, what I might do is just look at this from the front perspective, and that will just keep them all in the same plane. And I'm just going to kind of randomly do some scaled, creepy spider eye things. Trying to keep a nice little balanced composition. Now I can select all these, and I can Control J to join. That'll make them all one object, just to make it a bit easier to manage. And I can also create a new material, call this eyes. We can go ahead and give this maybe like a bit of a glowing red color. So I'll come down to emission. Emission stands for emitting light. So I can just turn that up, set the strength to 2. And this outer shell, I will create spider casing. There we go. And we're going to give this like a dark color, make it metallic, and turn the specular up a little bit and bring the roughness down. All right. Now if I do a light here, let's go Shift A, sun lamp, just rotate this off. And then let's go ahead and turn on rendered view. And we're going to turn on ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections under the render tab in Eevee. All right, I'm going to name these spider body, spider eyes. Okay, now let's figure out these legs. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this kind of just one side at a time. And I'm going to create a bit of a leg first. So let's grab a cylinder, just move it up here for now. Scale this up, right click shade smooth, and let's go into edit mode and let's grab this face. We're just going to make like kind of one joint of the leg. Okay. So I'm going to bring this down, bring this up a bit, Control R to create a loop cut. And then I'm going to hold down Alt and grab all these faces with face mode, E to extrude, and S to scale, but Shift Z, that will scale on everything except for the Z. And then maybe another loop cut and select this loop of faces. E, scale, Shift Z, just kind of creating these kinds of things. I'm going to come in and also do the auto smooth again with this. It'll give me that hard edge. When the angle gets greater than 30 degrees, it gives you that nice hard edge. Whereas when it's less than 30, it'll smooth it out. That's what's going on there. Let's E to extrude this and bring this out. E and bring that out. Just some random bits. Control B to bevel those, and then E and scale. Grab a little set of these and inset them, and then grab them X after extruding. Kind of randomly grabbing stuff here. Looks pretty good. You can give it the same material. We need to make it a bit longer. Let's go ahead and we'll position this one in place. Actually, that's a good idea. Let's switch up here in the render tab, come up to viewport shading and tick world off. That'll give us an HDRI, which will give us this kind of, it's basically like an image texture that goes in the world around us. And so it's reflected by everything. So it really helps things like reflections actually show up. Now this one actually be in our render, but all right, let's see. I need to make all this a bit longer. So I'm going to switch to normal so we can pull it out along the normal. I might hit E to extrude and grab this out. Let's just move this thing up and along. So we can have it maybe sticking out of the side, but I think it's going to make the most sense. Maybe actually underneath it, that could be good. Yeah, I think that works. Do it underneath here. We could come up with maybe some kind of like connection point along that. Might make it a little bit longer. All right, so we're going to play with our leg. Now we just need to create the geometry node system in order to have this thing walk around as it moves, okay? So we're going to take this leg object right here, and we're going to create a new collection. We're just going to drop it into it. And then I'm going to turn that collection off. I'll just drag that into my scene just so it's out of the way. Now I'm going to grab my my robot, and I need to think about where I want the legs to actually appear. And I think I'm going to put one here, one about there, and there. But I'm just going to focus on one. We're going to build this as one leg, and then we'll duplicate it around this object. Okay. So I'm going to make it off this one point. So I'm going to Shift D, duplicate that one vertex. Now you can see I've got a separate vertex that's all its own. Hit P to separate. You can also find if you go F3 and type separate, if you ever forget a hotkey. And we want to go P separate by selection. And that will give us a new object here that is just one vertex. Okay. I'm going to call this leg base. Now I'm going to go over to my Geometry Nodes tab, and I'm going to click New to create a new Geometry Nodes object, and I'm going to go ahead and name this Spider Legs. All right, so we have one vertex. What are we going to do with one vertex? We are going to instance our leg object in this position. This vertex is going to serve as sort of the base position for our leg, okay? So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go Shift A, and I'm going to get the instances on point node. And we're going to drop this right here. And then we're going to grab an object. So I'm going to grab the object info node, and we are going to grab the spider leg. There it is, the leg. And we'll take this geometry and we'll plug it into here. And there it is. Now, there's a couple things about this you'll note. So it's not quite the right shape. It might be even more squashed for you. So for two things you need to do to make sure it looks correct is first, I'll turn this collection back on. You need to make sure that your scale is set to 1, 1, and 1 on this leg. Remember, we scaled and moved it around. So you need to go F3 and type apply. And right there, that first one is scale. You're going to apply the scale. That'll set the scale to 1, 1, and 1. But then you also need to do it to the spider object here, the leg base. Because you can see with the leg base, we also have some weird scales because we were scaling our spider, remember? So I'm going to go F3, apply, scale, and bam, there you go. Now it's going to look correct. Okay, the first thing I want to do is get this into a correct position. Go ahead and hide that collection again. So I'm going to go over here, grab my leg base, and first we're going to move this thing up. Because right now what we want to do is we want to be able to rotate it from this point down here. And right now the origin of this object is right at that point. So that little vertex that we set is this is where I want you to instance this leg. That's the origin point of this piece of geometry, this instance. So if we rotate, it's going to rotate around that. So you can see right here, it's rotating around that point where we created it. So I need to move it up so the base of this is where that point is. So now we'll rotate like an articulating leg. So I'm going to grab a transform node. I'll drop it here, and we're just going to move this thing up until it's positioned roughly in the right spot. Now we can test that and just have a look, and I think that looks pretty good. Now, what we want to do is we want to create the next bit. So the bit that's up here, the articulating joint. So let me go ahead and I will rotate. I want to create another transform node. Actually, I'll drop it here. I'll zero out that position, and I'm going to rotate on the X. Okay. And the reason I'm using a separate one and not this one is because this one will rotate as if it's still got its origin in that middle. So if you see, if I rotate here, it's rotating from that center point. So the idea is use first transform node to offset it so it's moved now so that the base of the object is right at the same point as that vertex where we instance it. Now we make a new transform node, and it's going to apply new transforms based on the previous transforms. So that's why it's now rotating from that base point as opposed to from the original origin point. Hope that makes sense. It's a little confusing, but play around with it. You'll get the hang of it. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of position this up sort of in a rough angle that I like. Now we need to make another one, and we need to have it come down. We're going to use the same object, and we want to do the same thing. We want to offset it first so that it articulates from the base. So we can actually use this node here, so it's already offset for us. And then what we want to do is we want to position it so it's right off at the tip. Grab this Shift D to duplicate, bring this one down here, and I'll plug this one into here. I'll zero it out, and I'll go ahead and create a join geometry node, and I'll drop this right here, and I'll plug this one into here. Now you can see we've got two, right? So we've taken this, we've turned it into two, and we've joined them back together. Now I'm going to position this on the Y. I'm just going to line this thing up so that the base is right at the tip. Now you can see we can rotate this one. It will rotate around that point. And you'll notice that this one right here, of course, this rotation that we've done here happens after we've piped this down here. So this will actually disconnect them. But that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to just add in one more transform node. We'll zero this all out. If you click and drag down, you can enter a value into all of them at once. Just drop this here, and now this one can be our rotation for this whole thing. So let's go ahead and get this into a good angle so that it feels kind of like a good base position. So I'll just rotate this one so that it's maybe standing. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to separate these out so that it's really easy to see which one is the rotation controls that we need to work with. So I'm going to create a value node, and I'm going to label this value node. So I'm going to come over here to node and label, and I'm going to type the base leg rotation, and I'll Shift D to duplicate. Grab this down here, and I'll call this one the second leg rotation. Now we need to turn this gray thing into a vector. That's what the purple node stands for here. And we need to make sure, we just want to be affecting just the X rotation, not the Y and the Z. So in order to make that work, we need to grab a combine XYZ node, drop this down here. So we can take the, this is the tip. So we can do the second leg rotation, grab that to the X. So this will now control the X rotation. And I can grab this and plug it in here. Now I can hold down Shift and just find a spot where that looks right. And then the base leg, we can Shift D that combined, drop this here as well. And this one we can plug in over here. So now we've got this control. So both of these controls are the most important controls. So all of these we can just not disable, but just minimize. So they're out of the way and we're not having to think about them. Just take care of simplifying things so that it's easy for us to get a hold of what's going on. Okay, so we've created this bit of geometry by taking this leg that we've modeled, duplicating it, getting it in the right position so it articulates, and then we're feeding it in here to the points to instance node, which takes all the vertexes. If we had a bunch of vertexes, you would put one of these at every single one of them. We'd have hundreds of these legs, but we're keeping them separate for a specific reason, which we'll get to in a bit. Okay, great, looking good. Let's create some kind of little joint here that we can have on the articulating end. We can use the same thing for it, but we need to be careful with how it's set up so that it rotates correctly. So let's see. I'm going to grab a transform node. I'll drop this here, and I'll take this geometry and I'll plug it into here as well. And I'm just focusing in on it by just coming over here, and I'm going to actually hide the spider body so I can just see exactly what we're working with. All right, so this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it down at the Z to 0.08, I guess. And then I'm going to scale this up a little bit, just kind of making like a little plate kind of thing. And then I'm going to grab a join geometry node, and I'll drop this here. And I will duplicate this transform node, plug it in here. But this time what we're going to do is we are going to rotate it, let's see, on the Y, 180 degrees. So now I've got it on both, and I might drop it on the Z as well so that it's like that. All right, so I've got my joint thing. I might grab one more of these, and you end up using a lot of these guys. Just zeroing it all out. Grab this one here, and scales made that 0. Oops. And then I'll just bring it back up a little bit. So the origin point is kind of roughly in the middle. In fact, I should just duplicate. I went down 0.28. So I'm going to go up positive 0.28. Oh, no, not all the way up. I can divide that by 2, I think. You can do math operations directly inside these input boxes. Good. That sits the origin in the right spot, and that's in the right position. Now I want to stick this thing right up on the tip of my leg. So I'm going to include it in this join geometry node that we have already. So I'm going to bring it here, pipe it in, and I will grab another transform node. And this one I will use to position this in the right spot. So I'll come over here, go up 90 degrees and 90 degrees on the Z. And then just line this thing up and bring it down. Nice. I feel like it needs to be a little bit bigger because it's intersecting a touch there. So I should come back to this and just move that out maybe to negative 0.3. And then I'll take this one, which is the offset, and go 0.15 just to set it back. Okay, we could probably have one more right down here at the base as well. So why not? Let's do that. So before we get, let's see, this one, does this one do that one just offsets it? This is the one that puts it in the right spot. So I might just grab this one here, grab another join, grab a transform node, drop it here. And this one I'll rotate 90 and 90 like that. But this one I'm going to go a bit smaller on the X and the Y. Excellent. All right, this looks pretty cool. I can minimize all that. Bring that over here. So we've got our joints and then we've got our legs. Let's turn the body back on, the eyes back. Let's go ahead and parent stuff up. I'm going to take these eyes and then shift click the body and control P to parent. Same with the leg, control P to parent. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. So shift D to duplicate and grab X. And I'm just going to position a couple of these guys. Just like so. Might bring these guys down just a touch. All right, cool. So the next thing we need to do is, in fact, let's go ahead and we're going to do this again. I'm going to take all these guys and we're going to shift D to duplicate. And then we're going to scale Y -1. And then we'll just flip them around to the other side. All right, so we've got all of our legs for this guy. Now we need them to be able to move when we move this guy around. Okay, so let's click the first one. Now these are all using the same geometry node system. So it's all going to be around here with the base leg and base root. Now, what I found is probably the easiest thing to do with this is to create an empty. Okay, so we're going to shift A and we're going to create an empty. And we'll just stick this at the origin of our scene. Set it anywhere really. I might move it back a bit so we can see it. And I'm going to click this leg and we're going to bring it in. So I'm going to go Object, Info, and we're going to grab that empty. Which one is it? Empty 02. There we go. Okay, so what we want to do is we need to move these guys up and down based on where they are in the scene relative to something else. I originally tried doing this with the spider body itself, but you can get kind of things where like the motion kind of cancels out because it's relative to the leg. So I'm finding it works a little bit better if you have like a separate object. That way you're always changing your position relative to that object. There might be a way of doing it with just the world origin, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. So if anyone knows how to do that, let me know how in the comments below. So we're going to need a couple of things. We need the legs basically to go up and down continually, right, as it moves. Now, if you know anything about math, the best way to do that is with a sine or a cosine function. What that does is it takes any number, pumps it in, and it sticks out a value that's between -1 and 1, and it's going to be this curvy line. And the rate of change is based on the number that you plug into it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go for a math node. Drop this here. We're also going to grab a separate XYZ. And we're going to take the location of this empty and we're going to separate out its X, Y, and Z components. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the X component and we're going to drop it in here. We're going to grab a sine function. Okay. And now we grab a map range node. And this is where we can change this sine value, which is going to go between -1 to +1. It's going to go back and forth between those. We can take this, so we're going to have a minimum of -1 to a maximum of +1 is where it's going. So that's the range that this thing's going to be traveling in. And we want to convert those two, the floor and that ceiling to values that make sense with the rotations of this leg. So I'm going to take my base leg and I'm just going to find a good rotation point. I think this is the best one for this point. So 0.16. So I'll pick this. Are we going to go negative with? Yeah, we're going to go negative. So I'll take the maximum and I'll say 0.16. And then I'm going to drag this down until I find kind of a position that I like for the secondary position, which maybe like this. See how that looks. So I can copy this and paste that in the 2 minimum. So you can see it's going to convert -1 to +1. It's going to convert those to this range, -0.35 to 0.6. Now I can just replace this. So I can plug this in here. Okay, so now what's happening if I grab this thing on the X, nothing happens. Why? Okay, well, first off, we need to get the, switch this to relative, okay? So this is going to be relative to the position of these guys. Now if I grab this, you can see that they're going to be moving. And you can see that sine wave, see how it's functioning. As this value, as the X value changes, right? It's plugging in that value to that function, which then outputs a different value between -1 and 1 on a constant rate. Well, based on the rate of change along the X. And even we get a bit of rotation change, which is cool because we're changing our position relative to that on the X when we rotate. But when we go on the Y, nothing's happening, right? We want this thing to be able to go back and forth, like a little crab. So we should also incorporate the Y position into all this. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a math node, and we'll take the Y value, and we are going to add it to the X value, right? So both these guys are added together, and then we're going to plug it into the sine wave. But this, of course, will work, right? So if I move it around, you can see on the X or the Y they're working. But you notice if I go in certain directions, I'm getting some weird stuff where they're not really moving. And that's because we're moving positive X, negative Y. And so by adding these together, it's actually kind of canceling out. So I think something to really help with that is to first make both these positive no matter what. So if I grab an math node, grab here, we can use the absolute function, which just makes it positive if it's negative, and duplicate here. So now they're always going to be positive, even if we're going in a negative X or negative Y direction. And that means that the behavior will be pretty consistent now across all of it. And what's cool about this is by adding these together, I can rotate, and I'm constantly getting a change of motion. Very creepy. Gotta make that sound when you do it. All right, so last thing is we can take this in bit here, and we can articulate this as well a little bit using the same system, but just using a different map range node. So I can Shift D to duplicate this, bring this down. And so for this one, let's see, when we're up, we want to have this kind of going in, I think. So I might copy that, and I'm going to paste that here. I'll paste it in both of them. I'm not sure which one's the correct side to put this in. And when we go down, I want it to kind of go out maybe to here. So we'll try this. So I did the -2. So the wide value, I put this in the max to 2 max, and then the -3.4, I put it in the 2 min. I'll take the sine function, plug it in here, and then I'll take the result, plug it into here. Just get rid of that for now. And it doesn't look quite right. So I might flip these guys. All right, I like that. I went with -3 in the min and -2.8 in the max. Thanks so much for watching this exciting tutorial. Hope you really enjoyed it and learned a lot about what you can do with geometry nodes and how you can use it to help to supplement your modeling and animation to do really cool stuff. So don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to the channel. If you want to find out when I publish a new video, just ring the bell for notifications. Also consider joining the channel here on YouTube. It's a great way to support the work that I'm doing, or you can head over to Patreon and you can join there. If you join at the second tier this month, you'll be able to get this project file itself. So have a look at that if you're interested. There's tons of extra content there, including all the live streams. So this was recorded as a 2-hour live stream that you can watch, and it's been edited down to this 30-minute tutorial that you've got today. So if you like watching me make mistakes and explore and kind of come up with random stuff and abandon ideas, that's the place to catch all all that content. You can get that at Patreon or on YouTube if you join here as well. So thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Until then, have a fantastic week. I'll see you later. Bye.